Have you ever wondered why some NBA players turn into public villains overnight, even when they're great at basketball? Is it because they're truly awful people, or is something else at play? A hidden formula that turns excellence into public hate? Today, we'll peel back the curtain on the real reasons the NBA's most hated players become targets of fury, memes, and endless hot takes. Stay until the end. I'll reveal a single psychological trick teams and media use that flips fan opinion faster than a buzzer beater: the anatomy of hate. Hate rarely lands out of nowhere. It's a compound reaction made of several ingredients: narrative, social proof, cognitive bias, and media framing. First, narratives matter. Fans love a story, the underdog versus the villain. Once a player is cast as the villain in a compelling narrative, every action they take is reinterpreted to fit that role. Second, social proof. People look at others, comment sections, pundits, teammates, to decide how to react. If enough people boo, more people will join in. Third, cognitive bias. Confirmation bias makes fans remember the bad plays and forget the good one. Finally, media framing accelerates everything. Highlight a shove one time, and suddenly that shove is the player's defining trait. But here's the twist. The most hated players often perform at a level that threatens identity. When a player's success challenges a fan's favorite team or exposes faults in a cherished narrative, hatred becomes a defensive reflex, like protecting a belief system. The role of the media. Media doesn't just report, it sculpts public opinion. Click-driven headlines reward outrage. Controversy equals clicks equals ad dollars. So narratives that spark emotion get amplified. Social media amplifies the most extreme takes because extreme content gets engagement. This is why a single poorly worded quote or a blown-up private message can become a trending crisis. The media cycle creates a feedback loop. Controversy gets covered, people react, more content is produced, and the controversy grows. Importantly, the media loves simple stories. Complex players, those who have contradictory behavior or who show charity off court and trash talk on court, are harder to summarize. So outlets choose the simplest, most viral angle. That's how nuance dies and hatred spreads. What if the media didn't want to make someone the villain, but had to because the story fit their business model? Keep watching. You'll see how that business model shapes who wins and who gets canceled. When skill becomes a threat. Paradoxically, greatness can attract hatred. When a player dominates, fans of other teams often feel personally insulted, as if their team or identity was attacked. Sports fandom is tribal, and when a player's excellence undermines the probability of the fans' tribe winning, hostility follows. This is not purely rational, it's emotional survival of the identity. There's also the too much problem. Players who show intense confidence, swagger, or unapologetic self-belief cross a cultural line for many fans who prefer humility. The same actions that inspire admiration in teammates, poise, cold-bloodedness, relentless competitiveness, can be reframed as arrogance and selfishness to outsiders. Later, I'll show a counterintuitive example of a player who deliberately leaned into hate to build a brand, and it worked. The power of perception, actions versus image. Often fans don't hate a player for one action, while they hate the perceived pattern. Humans are narrative machines. We connect dots. A single bad moment becomes part of a supposed pattern, whether it exists or not. This is where image management matters. Some players are media savvy and control their image with apologies, PR, community work, and consistency. Others ignore the narrative, which lets it grow unchecked. There's a second layer, selective memory. Fans and even analysts selectively recall incidents that corroborate a negative image. The result? A player can have 10 acts of charity and one spat, and the spat gets the headlines. The perception becomes reality in the court of public opinion. The economics of hate, branding, and sponsorship. Here's a surprising truth. Hatred can be profitable. Controversy increases visibility, and visibility sells. Some brands shy away from controversy, but others, especially lifestyle and edgy brands, lean in and capitalize on a player's notoriety. For the player, hate can translate into attention, followers, and sometimes even higher marketability among certain demographics. This creates an incentive structure where negative publicity is not always disastrous. However, there's a tipping point. If hate crosses into criminal behavior or genuine moral transgression, the costs outweigh the benefits: lost sponsors, suspension, and irreparable harm. The key is that not all hate is equal. Some is performative and fleeting, some is structural and damaging. Players, agents, and teams constantly weigh these trade-offs. At the end, I'll reveal one technique teams use to neutralize hate without losing the business they've built: redemption, strategy, and the real secret: So what actually flips public hatred back to acceptance? Consistency plus narrative repair plus controlled exposure. Teams and players who survive and thrive after being hated use 3 tools. Consistency, repeated actions that contradict the negative narrative, community work, consistent on-court behavior, slowly erode hate. Narrative repair. Players tell their own story. Interviews, documentary features, and controlled media appearances that reframe the past. Controlled exposure. Rather than disappear, the player shows up in carefully staged interaction. Charity games, pressers, that expose fans to the human side. Repeated small wins that chip away at hostility. Here's the real secret I promised. The fastest way to neutralize hate is to change the story people tell about the player. That means creating a new narrative arc, from villain to flawed hero or driven competitor. Humans love redemption arcs. Give them one, and they'll forgive a lot. Final takeaway: hate in the NBA isn't a random storm. It's a product of storytelling, social dynamics, and incentives. Players become hated for what they symbolize, not just what they did. The good news? Narratives can be rewritten. Players, teams, and even fans have the power to change the story. If you enjoyed this deep dive, like, subscribe, and comment. Tell me the player you think is misunderstood and why. I'll pick the most surprising answer for a follow-up video where we rebuild one player's image step by step.